We have a wonderful morning of a number of sessions. So if you all sit down, then we can start the proceedings. Just check. Good morning. Good morning again to all of you. I'm Raja Mohan, the director of Carnegie India. This is the 6th International Center of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace that was set up about a century ago, in 1910 to be precise. There are other centers in Moscow, in Beijing, in Brussels, and Beirut, of course besides Washington, D.C. So this will be the 6th center. So delighted that so many of you have joined us this morning, so let me welcome you. Before I welcome Mr. Sunil, Mittal, and Ambassador Burns to come up, just a couple of words so that this short inaugural session will be followed by 2 panels, one on innovation and Indian development, followed by India and the major powers. And then we have a release of Dr. Tellis's paper on India as a leading power, and we'll end with a keynote from Foreign Secretary Dr. Jaishankar. Now, I just wanted to say a couple of words about what we hope to do. Carnegie, as I said, was set up in 1910, and as Carnegie came of age in the interwar period, it was also a moment when India's own national movement was coming into life, and India was beginning to discover its own international context. In fact, many of India's founding fathers came of age in the interwar period, and a strong spirit of internationalism that pervaded the Indian national movement. In fact, every single idea in the world animated, influenced the different streams of Indian national movement, and you saw that in the way India reached out to the world immediately after independence. So I think the spirit of internationalism that Carnegie brings, coupled with India's own spirit of internationalism, rooted very much in the soil, in India's national interests and India's own unique international experience. We hope that together we will use this combination to generate and to influence the discourse in this country. So let me stop there and invite Mr. Sunil Bharti Mittal, Trustee of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, and also, of course, he's the chairman of the Bharti Enterprises, and then Ambassador Bill Burns, a former U.S. Deputy Secretary of State and the President of Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Please both of you join me on the stage. So I'll ask Sunil to start the proceedings and say a few words about that.
A very good morning to all of you. It's indeed my proud privilege to welcome you all here this morning at the launch of Carnegie Endowment for International Peace here in New Delhi. In fact, I'm delighted to see finally Nai Delhi written on this board. It's taken us some years to put our flag out here in this part of the world. If you look at the Carnegie spread now across the world, this part, South Asia, in particular India, was the missing piece. And when I joined Carnegie Endowment in 2007, it was my personal mission to see that one day we will get to have Carnegie Center here in New Delhi for the entire South Asia. I look forward to seeing Rajamohan and his team developing this center into yet another powerful place for Carnegie scholars from around the globe to come and work in this very important sector. I would also like to see scholars coming from other South Asian countries to be a part of this center and produce some vital documents for the benefit of our government, for the society at large. Ashley will be releasing later on his paper on India as a leading power. The timing could have never been better than today, when India is really making our presence on the world stage. The timing, therefore, is perfect that we get some institute like Carnegie to come and start working here along with the Indian government to endorse that very vital vision that India has of now being a major player on the world stage. At 7.3 to 7.6% growth rate predicted for the coming year, India is really the sole sweet spot of world economic growth. Brazil falling down this year to expected minus 2.5%, Russia at minus 0.07%, Europe growing at no more than 1.7%, and the US also clicking at only about 2.5%, India will be the engine of growth, and therefore, to my mind, a very, very important player in still driving the otherwise slowing down growth engine of the world. India is also making a deep impact on the strategic issues on the globe. Our Prime Minister, who was recently in the United States for the Strategic Nuclear Summit, made some very important and vital point around terrorism, about abuse of nuclear weapons in the wrong hands, and how we can all put our minds together to see that we make the world a safer place. Yesterday morning, we had a chance to call on the Prime Minister. He was generous with his time. We spent over 40 minutes with him, and some of the things that he mentioned to us for us to work forward were precisely in the area of ensuring the nuclear safety in this region, terrorism, seeing how we can connect the youth towards more gainful employment rather than crossing the line and being the part of the jihadist movement. All these issues were engaging his mind and are issues that Carnegie works very well with. I have personally seen the papers of Carnegie. I've read through them on ISI, on Afghanistan, on terrorism, the geopolitical issues, and I can tell you they are world-class papers, and I have no doubt that India as a whole will benefit from it. Ambassador Burns, who is now the leading light and the president of Carnegie Endowment, is well known to all of you here today. I'm delighted that he has taken the responsibility at Carnegie Endowment to take the work forward, work that has been assiduously put together by Jessica for many years. Jessica is also present with us here today. In fact, she works very closely with me to ensure that the India Center comes up as soon as possible. I will not take too much time this morning and hand over the mic to Ambassador Burns, but let me say it will be very, very important for us to have your support and your generosity in moving the agenda forward for Carnegie Center in India, and I have no doubt in the next few years we will make a mark here. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Sunil, and good morning, everyone. It truly is an honor and a privilege to join all of you this morning for the launch of Carnegie India. This day, as Sunil said, has been a long time coming, and it is the product of extraordinary effort and dedication on the part of many people. Carnegie's Board of Trustees, especially Indian trustees Sunil Mittal and Ratan Tata, who had the vision and the drive to expand Carnegie's global platform to New Delhi, and Pat House, another deeply committed member of our board and a wonderful friend who's traveled from California to be with us today. My predecessor as president, Jessica Matthews, who began this task with her own remarkable energy and commitment. Our Founders Committee, led by Ambassadors Frank Wisner and Naresh Chandra, whose generosity and partnership helped bring the vision of Carnegie India into reality. And of course, my terrific Carnegie colleagues in Washington and now in Delhi. I could not have asked for a better co-pilot than the brilliant and endlessly resourceful Ashley Tellis. And I could not ask for a better founding leadership team here than our founding director, Raja Mohan, and managing director, Shivnath Thukral. More than 100 years ago, Andrew Carnegie looked out at the dawn of a new century and saw a world in profound transition. The rise of new powers, emergence of new technologies, a changing global economy, and the prospect of conflict all loomed large. Full of a self-made man's sense of purpose and possibility, Mr. Carnegie was not content to merely admire these transformations. He wanted to shape them. In a remarkable act of foresight and generosity, he invested all of his wealth to establish nearly 24 philanthropies around the world. Among them was the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Mr. Carnegie's mission for the endowment was as simple as it was ambitious: to advance the cause of peace and international understanding. By many objective measures, today's world is more peaceful and prosperous than Mr. Carnegie could have imagined. And yet, as we look out over the horizon, we see a world order in flux, replete with the kind of promise and peril that animated Mr. Carnegie's philanthropy. Everywhere you look, the foundations of global order seem increasingly unsteady. Upheaval in the Arab world, a Europe in crisis, and the risk of great power collisions across the Asia-Pacific. The intensity of these tremors is matched only by the transformational forces rocking the global economy, climate, cyberspace, and other transnational domains. Keeping up with this rapidly transforming landscape is a central task for an institution like Carnegie and all those who care about the cause of peace. From its beginning, the Carnegie Endowment was a global institution, a place that was less interested in amplifying directives from Washington than it was in bringing international perspectives to bear in Washington. Over the past couple decades, in an effort to keep pace with accelerating globalization and deepen dialogue and research at key geopolitical fault lines, the Carnegie Endowment opened up centers in Moscow, Beirut, Beijing, and Brussels. And today we're delighted to open our 6th international center in New Delhi. As all of you know very well, in the 21st century, no region will be more consequential for global order than the Asia-Pacific. India's rise is among the most significant and dramatic features of that new landscape. The same is true of the strategic partnership with the United States, a partnership between two of the world's largest democracies, two of the world's largest economies, and two countries that, for the first time in history, have a deep stake in each other's success. This is precisely why we decided to open Carnegie India. India plays a critical role in nearly every region and issue of consequence, from the future of democracy to nuclear nonproliferation, great power politics to climate, and the impact of technological innovation on international affairs. Understanding India's perspectives will be essential to meeting these and other challenges head-on. And this is why we fully intend for Carnegie India to be an Indian institution, led by one of India's and the world's finest strategic thinkers, Raja Mohan, and staffed by the most promising young Indian scholars and practitioners. Together, they will focus their initial efforts on the political economy of reform in India, on India's foreign and security policy, and on the role of innovation and technology in India's internal transformation and international relations. In each of these areas, Carnegie India will benefit from the perspective of other Carnegie centers, just as our other centers will benefit from Carnegie India. Together, the growing Carnegie platform can help thinkers and doers alike make better sense of an increasingly disordered world. Given how crowded and complicated today's international landscape has become, and given the profound stakes for global peace and prosperity, Andrew Carnegie's mission and animating purpose is more relevant and vital than ever before. I'm convinced that Carnegie India can make an enormously important contribution to realizing that mission in the Pacific century unfolding before us. I'm convinced that Carnegie India can add to India's already rich intellectual tradition. And I'm confident that if we can maintain the spirit of inquiry, independent thinking, and creativity that drove Mr. Carnegie and the work of his endowment, we can help transcend this moment of testing and contribute to a more peaceful and prosperous world. So thank you all very much again for joining in today's launch and in the many conversations and initiatives that will follow in the months and years ahead. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for those wise words and putting the Carnegie India in perspective. Thank you, Sunil, for all your support and encouragement. And we look forward to all our friends here, many of whom are sitting here, many of the supporters, to do more and to work together to take this institution forward. So we are caught up with time, so we're going to end this session here.